guys, it's Kayla.
And Jim.
And welcome back to another Meteorology Monday. Last week we started off our discussion of the EF scales with EF 0s, 1, 2, and 3. And today we are finishing it off with EFs 4 and 5.
Up next is EF4. Now, one thing we do want to point out is the EF4 and the EF5 scale tornadoes, they occur much less frequently throughout the year than do in EF0, EF1, EF2. EF3 is less than that, EF4 is less, and EF5 is considerably less. So it's not like there's EF5s going on all over the place, you know, throughout the year. They are the EF4 and EF5 scales. Those tornadoes are rare, but they do produce an extensive amount of damage.
For example, the last EF5 to hit the United States was in 2013. So it's been almost 7 years since that kind of devastating tornado has happened.
And don't be surprised to see them in areas that you would not expect them. Because back, I believe, in the 50s, Massachusetts actually had what was then an F4. So it can,
it can happen wherever.
EF4s can happen in other areas that you wouldn't normally expect. Very, very rare even for those kind of areas, but it's a non-zero kind of event.
It's a non-zero.
It's not a zero event. There you go.
Well, I mean, and then you have some years that are just like off the charts crazy. I mean, if you guys have been following the weather here in the southeast over the past 3 weeks, we've had a major storm system come through the southeast once a week for the past 3 weeks, and with each storm system we've had one EF4.
On to the EF4 scale. Let's take a look at the definition and take a look at some videos.
EF4 is 166 to 200 miles per hour. The damage for these is well-constructed houses and whole frame houses are completely leveled.
So we would expect stick-built, frame-built houses that is just laying on its foundation, completely down. Trees, you know, the bark is stripped off of a lot of the trees. A lot of the trees are down. A lot of smaller diameter trees are gone. Big, sturdy trees, definitely bark stripped off.
All the power lines are down. You'll see a lot of power flashes with these power outages to entire town.
This definitely, I would say, gets more at a county level than a city level, because now we're talking really big and affecting, you know, a larger area.
And the 90% of these are extremely wide tornadoes as well. We had one the other week that was 2¼ miles wide at an EF4. So these can get really big, and if an EF4 is going through any area, most likely you will see entire towns, cities, counties affected by these, not just specific parts or neighborhoods.
That's right, and when a tornado gets to be that big, it tends to stay on the ground for a long time. So it will pass through your county, your adjacent counties, it goes for a way. It goes for a ways. One thing to consider, though, is that size doesn't always necessarily mean speed.
Correct.
But as you've been noticing from EF0 through to EF4, now you're seeing them getting a little bigger, and the damage path and the swath of the damage is getting wider and wider. So that is something that you can correlate. Now, the big one.
The moment you've all been waiting for.
Dun, 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 dun.
The EF5.
right. So we're going to go ahead and we will take a look at the definition. And the reason why we're looking over here is because the computer's sitting over there.
yeah. Don't mind us just gazing over here.
Keep looking over.
For EF5s, we have 200 plus miles per hour. Strong framed houses are leveled off of the foundations and completely swept away. High-rise buildings have significant structural deformation. The difference in the damage between the EF4 and the EF5, especially if it's a lower end EF5, is that instead of just destroying a house completely and kind of leveling it and all of the frame and stuff is still in a pile there, the EF5 completely sweeps it away. So what's left of your house and your gnomes is just the concrete pad that your house was built on.
That's right.
You're not going to find, especially as you go up in the EF5 scale and you get higher winds and stuff, the remnants of your house are going to be scattered across the county. They're not going to be anywhere near where your house once was.
That's right. And as you're going to see in some of the videos, things get swept clean off, which is why, especially out in the southern plains, Oklahoma, Texas, where chances of EF5s are higher, they let people know, and you'll hear on some of the, if you YouTube other videos, EF5 videos, you'll hear the TV announcers say, you need to be underground for these because your home gets completely swept away.
Yeah.
Staying in a closet or under a stairwell or
it doesn't matter
in a bathtub, doesn't matter at that point because everything's going to get swept away.
Yeah.
So the best thing is to not even be there.
Yeah.
Second best thing is you got to get underground, and that's why they have all those shelters. And they're actually looking at engineering homes, and they've been doing this for probably the past decade or so.
Yeah.
Looking at this research, engineering homes to be even more structurally sound, but putting in that underground shelter as part of the package of these new homes that are being built.
Yeah.
So that's interesting. Let's take a look at some video. So there you go with EF5 damage. Now, since we've gone from EF0 through EF5, logically it would make sense, is there an EF6? I think once you reach a certain damage level, there really is no point to keep going unless there's other structures that start reaching into that. Maybe some point. Maybe
at some point, but at this point, I mean, the definition of EF5 is that everything in its path is not only completely destroyed, but completely swept away. There's nothing but ground left. So unless we get...
in some cases, not even
the ground in some cases. But yeah, so, I mean, in order to keep going up in the scale, we would need more buildings that could withstand the current EF5 damage rating, so...
Right. And we know that there are recorded EF5s that have been up and over 300 miles an hour. Is there something that's structurally sound to be able to... Of course, you'd need that kind of tornado with that kind of wind speed going over that kind of structure to be able to, calculate that's the case. But or they can do it in a lab environment. Yeah. But really, what's the cost then? and what's the reason to build to that strength
Right.
if you really don't have, if it's
doesn't happen
so
very
small of a chance
Yeah.
of that happening. 200 miles an hour, 300 miles an hour, it's going to wipe things out anyways. So.
Yeah. Another thing with EF5s is that most of the time when they happen, people remember them for a really long time. I mean, there was the May 1999 Moore, Oklahoma tornado, and then, 14 years later in 2013, you had another EF5 go through the same path. That doesn't happen very often.
Right, exactly.
So they're very, very memorable when they happen. We had Joplin back in 2011, I believe, and they're very significant historical events when they happen.
How do we verify these kind of storms? Well, we have the scales, but who actually goes out to do the assessment and give it the official stamp that this is an EFX tornado?
That is an excellent question.
And the answer is...
Well, you have a bunch of, trained professionals at SPC, the Storm Prediction Center, and National Weather Service offices who will go out and verify these events and check all the damage in the paths and see, hey, we have a building that only the shingles are taken off here, but then we have a building here that was well constructed, but it's completely leveled, but the foundation is still there. So they take all of that into account, compound all of that information, and then they come up with an accurate EF rating for it.
That's right. So National Weather Service meteorologists, there's research meteorologists, there's engineering folks that are out there as well, so that everybody collaborates and they're able to come up with an accurate measurement. And then after everything is all done, they'll actually put it together using a software program, and they'll actually upload the images to the National Weather Service site, and you'll actually see the path in which the tornado took and what the EF rating was over the portion of that path.
Yeah, you can see where it starts out at a 0 or a 1, and then it goes up and it gains strength, and then it falls apart a little bit, and yeah, they'll actually piece together with GPS location the exact wind speed over the entire path.
Kind of looks like a slug path sometimes. Just kind of
multicolored slug path. And there we have it, the EF4s and 5s. Hope you guys like this 2-part series, and if you like what you saw today, make sure that you hit the thumbs up and subscribe down below so you never miss another Meteorology Monday.
And you can also follow us on Facebook and Instagram.
Until next time, I'm Kayla.
And I'm Jim.
Thanks for watching.
And happy storm assessing. Redo
that, I'm gonna look like an idiot.